Guys, welcome back to the podcast.
What up?
Reunited once
Thanks
more.
for having me, Dave.
It's great to have you, Jay Christiansen, James Gill, and it's been a long time, guys.
Yeah, man, you left us. We miss you.
I miss you guys too. It's comfortable where I'm at. It's about 87 degrees, so it's weird. We can go to the range. You're out there for like an hour. You get sunburnt because of the elevation, but it's actually a pleasant experience. Not just dripping sweat the entire time like Tejas.
Yeah, we had a much different range experience.
Okay, well, we're here to talk about the tactical games that you guys shot this last weekend at the Triple C range in Cresson, Texas. I'm guessing a little sweatier.
Yeah,
Significantly.
only about 95 degrees, clear sunshine in North Texas. A little hot wind blowing.
Oh, I miss those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this time you had like plate carrier and a whole bunch of mess on, right?
Yeah, 15-pound plate carrier carrying 150 pounds overhead, that kind of stuff.
Good times. Well, so Jay, this was your first tactical games experience. What'd you think, man?
Dude, I had a good time. Like the match was fun. It was a good change of pace from our typical 3-gun matches we're used to. It's a whole different crowd, a whole different match. But it was a good time, man. I pretty much got what I expected out of it physically, but it was a fun match.
Well, so you've been fighting off some injuries and recovering over the last like 6 months here. But what do you mean by whole different crowd?
The tactical games obviously was the more of a tactical crowd. A lot of law enforcement, military people.
Okay.
And then also a lot of CrossFit people. So it's like a lot of CrossFit people that do a little shooting. A lot of law enforcement, military that just kind of doing it as training / fun on the side of their normal everyday duties, I guess.
That's good. Like, that's what you want, right? Is people to exercise and keep sharp in that line of work.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so I brought up the injury thing. So how, I know you've been dealing with like some hamstring sort of things, some knee things. Refresh my memory here. What's been going on with you?
Well, other
than the tree falling on you, what was what's the current injury thing like?
Yeah, the broke neck. That's old news. That was almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of a bum knee. He's got a bad meniscus and a little arthritis and bone spur and little this, little that.
All the good stuff.
It honestly, it really didn't bother me at all this past weekend.
Good.
So I can't use that for any excuses.
Yeah, I was wondering how that was going to go. I didn't talk to you before the match, but glad to hear that it didn't bother you too much.
Yeah, thank you.
What was that, James? You're jumping in there?
Yeah, I think Jay mentioned it sometime prior to the event, and I said, I don't want to hear any excuses ahead of time. And I told him point blank, I said, one of us is going to die this weekend.
Yeah, that was spoken.
Yeah. Between the events, from prior events that I had done, and knowing what the weather was going to be like, it was just, I knew it was going to be rough. But we did it.
Well, yeah, and this is at Jeremy's home range of Triple C, and he's really gotten into the tactical game. So of course, got to kind of expect that they would turn the match up a notch a little bit.
Yeah, and I kind of like it. With tactical games, they give you a briefing ahead of each match, or each event is following under the same guidelines. These are things that you can expect to see round count wise, target engagement distance. So you're able to prep your gear pretty good. But no matter what shape you're in or how much you've been working out and doing stuff, when you get to each specific battle, there's no way to properly prep for each one. Well, I'm not going to say there's no way to properly prep, but it's just, I wouldn't have thought in my wildest imagination that I'd be doing an overhead carry for 25, 50 yards or doing something like as a standalone event. It's not a big deal, but now you're doing that as just a small portion of a stage. So sometimes you look at them and you're like, well, I'm going to go home and start practicing with this bag and doing bag tosses and doing different stuff. And you go to the next event and you don't toss any bags and you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of got myself in a mentality that every event I'm going to do is going to be rough. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to kind of dumb my way through it, basically.
You basically just have to power through, be ready for anything, and then just rely on grit, right? To just keep you going, keep you moving throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a different level of fitness that you need, and to be able to maintain a certain ability. The first event I did at Reveille Peak this year, the first battle that we were in, as soon as it started, I thought I was just going to sprint down range and go shoot. That did not happen. I sprinted down that first portion, and then by the second or third pass of doing that, it took everything I had to walk. So it took a little more diligence on my part as far as maintaining a pace that was adequate for the event. And I don't know if you've seen any of the videos coming for it, but if somebody's from an outside perspective is looking at it, they definitely say, oh, it doesn't look that hard, or you're not running that fast. I mean, the videos I've posted is literally me walking down a course with a bag over my shoulder. And I promise you, it's not because I was half-assing it. It's because that's all the effort I had left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've talked about obstacle racing on the show a lot. This, reminds me of the Spartan race where, you go to flip a tractor tire and you almost can't get it over because hey, this is mile 12 of 14 here. And I didn't just start this. This is the 35th obstacle that we're doing here. So it's all cumulative, right? So if you got to do those sprints and then, you get a little bit of rest to refuel and stuff. And then you come back and then it's overhead carries and then more sandbag stuff plus the 95-degree heat. It's just an endurance event at that point.
Yep. So I was asking Jay, and I didn't get to talk to him earlier, but I wanted to see how he was feeling come Monday morning.
So, surprisingly, I felt completely normal.
Really?
Yeah. I wasn't hurting, wasn't sore. I mean, it really, I just didn't feel like I did all the shit that we did all the stuff that we did over the weekend. I was really surprised, very shocked, actually.
Did you weigh yourself before and after to see how much water weight you lost?
No, I didn't weigh myself until I came home and ate on Sunday night and Monday. So I guarantee whatever water weight I lost over the weekend, I put it right back on before the end of the day yesterday.
So
leaving town, we stopped at Brahms.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That starts the recovery right there, right?
Yep. And then I hit Buc-ee's after that in between his house and mine.
Oh man, I miss Texas.
I was recovering for sure. I was definitely hurting Sunday night. And but yeah, I felt good Monday.
Did you do Jay, did you do any
I'm not gonna lie. I was hurting.
Yeah. Well,
Jay, did you do any icing or any special recovery protocols on Sunday night?
Nope. Just refilled my belly with all the food that I didn't eat over the weekend.
James, what does your recovery protocol look like from a match like this?
Well, to be honest, so if you would have asked me this a year ago, I would have told you that I would have chain smoked a pack of cigarettes, drank a Red Bull, and junk food like I normally do. But over the last year, my regimen has changed significantly. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm healthy, but I'm much healthier now than I was a year ago. I was hurting quite a bit after the event. I had, my quads were strained pretty good. My shoulder was a little tight. But I know, just like anything else, if I'm on the range all day, you got to keep plugging water, get your electrolytes back. And that helps so that you're not going to be cramping up or, super sore in the morning. So I was more cognizant. I was paying more attention to that. Thank you. And other than the burger we ate on the way home and the chocolate shake, which was nice. It was a small shake though, but I've got a routine where first thing Monday morning I woke up. I think I was up 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday, which if you guys know me, like, I don't know how that happened. Cause unless, one of my roommates is there to wake me up, like I'm not waking up. But I woke up, I actually had a workout first thing in the morning and I ran some errands, starting the day, doing some stuff. And I was going to go for 3, but I said I didn't want to strain myself too much. So I got 2 workouts in Monday, and I'm trying to maintain that going forward. I want to actually start looking the role of it being semi-athletic.
Good for you, man. That's great to hear.
Yep.
With the Budweiser tank though that you're rocking, do you think that kind of is setting the tone a little bit for the match?
Oh, it's so nice shooting in a tank top. It's pretty freeing with a lot of things, which doesn't change much for what I'm doing, but just the mentality of bringing myself back to the mentality that I'm here for fun. I'm paying to do these events. I'm paying, like, ultimately this is a hobby for a lot of people. Even though I'm doing it more than most people, it's still fun for me. So keeping that fresh in my mind. But I can tell you, at all the events I've done, there has been a time where I look over on a course and one of the competitors around me is stretching or like doing some warm-up exercise, or they're, doing yoga, or they're drinking a shake, probably a protein shake, or, definitely eating healthy. And they're watching on their watch, like what time it is when they need a snack. As I'm watching them, I've got a cigarette in my mouth, and I'm no longer drinking energy drinks at the events. I would actually drink water and Gatorade at the event. But when it was time to eat, I took a mozzarella ball and was eating it like an apple. And one of the guys there just looked over at me and was laughing. I'm hungry, right? I needed some fuel there, but it wasn't like I had to make a salad and bust out a fork and knife to eat it. I don't know. It's kind of strange where the mentality of seeing some of these guys are hands down, they are true professional athletes. And keeping in mind some of the stuff that they do, I know that I can't go overnight and become this crazy athlete that I was in high school, or some of the people that we compete with that are Olympians. I can't begin to imagine that I would ever maintain that lifestyle. So instead of acting the part, it's like I'm just making smarter choices so that I hurt less at the event, or that I can continue to go to events, basically.
That's pretty smart. Like, I guess a lot of people think they need to make, huge drastic moves, especially when, you start a new hobby and you get excited about it and you want to excel and everything. But perhaps especially coming from a perspective of I'm 40 now, and I've had some experience. Like maybe not going all in and just making those small, manageable changes, make it more enjoyable, and then maybe it's more of a long-term play rather than going all in and burning yourself out right away.
Yeah, you definitely have to pace yourself with any of the events we do. We talked about this before with three gunners coming into the sport, and specifically three gunner. I know it happens in the other sports, but somebody comes in from a different background, whether it's auto racing or USPSA, whatever their other hobby background was. They come to three gun, they see what the three gun crowd looks like, so they want to go out and buy a range cart, Solomon shoes, and get a Techwear jersey. And it's their first event. First time ever shooting three gun. And okay, good. You want to play the part and wear the appropriate costume for the event. I got it. But then as you start going further from there, it seems like there's a lot of people that try and put themselves in this one role that everybody has to, like, everybody in three gun does this, so I have to do this. No, that's, I've tried to avoid that in a lot of senses. There's a lot of gear that we all use that's for particular reasons why we use it. But you and I both know you could show up to the event without a range cart and still make it through a match. Not going to be as comfortable. You can shoot in something other than Solomon shoes. It doesn't matter. And if you go to a CrossFit games or tactical games or something, you can compete in the event, but you don't necessarily need tape all over your calf muscles. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the KT tape makes you cool, though.
Well,
does it, Dave? Does it?
I don't know. So it's funny you mentioned that because I just had that conversation. Over at Stag, where I work now, we're gearing up for the Wyoming Governor's match, and we don't have jerseys yet for a specific reason that you both know about. But so try to figure out how do you go and represent the company if you don't have jerseys, right? So I was like, well, we're both wearing golf shirts right now. They golf in these. Don't you think we could shoot in them too?
Yes, you're shooting in golf shirts.
Yeah, exactly. So I was trying to talk the other guys into going with khaki slacks and pink golf shirts, which is kind of in vogue for shooty boys right now.
Yep.
If you're listening to this in the future, it's because of the Missouri thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
like everybody else, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, but it's one of those things where, I don't know. I've always bought all my jerseys, right? So I guess I take that back. I had two gifted to me by other people, but I've never. I don't know. It's a weird thing because it really doesn't matter what you shoot in. You could do a golf shirt or like an athletic shirt, like Ben Steger, who's on the cover of the USPSA. What the hell do they call his Front Sight magazine that's sitting next to me here. He's got his EEA or EAA jersey on, but that dude shot for like a decade in just like a blue shirt and shorts, on his own and annihilated everybody. So it really doesn't matter, but we do think we have to have the costume, So I guess
there's a lot of mental processes that people go through, like a high powered rifle. If you talk to any of the precision bullseye shooters, some of the guys that we worked with, they had like 120 steps every time they fired a round downrange. Yeah. And they're going through this mental checklist of keeping everything the same every time. And so that's probably part of it. Like, hey, these are, this is the part of the attire. I put my range bag in the car, I put my jerseys, hang the jerseys in the truck, put my shoes in there, go. And then you wake up, you put it's kind of your mental prep of like, I'm putting on my game face as I'm putting on my jersey. Now I'm in game mode of going to whatever event I'm at.
That's a good point.
And I totally get that. But I'm totally okay with just, matter of fact, after the Budweiser tank top, I went and ordered, I've got a new American flag moisture wicking tank top that's much nicer to shoot in.
Moving on up.
Oh yeah. Still, tank top it's very comfortable to shoot in, and everybody's like, "Well, aren't you representing?" I'm like, "I'm still representing X, Y, and Z companies." Just happens that the companies that I'm working with, I don't have any requirement of taking a picture in a jersey. If they want a picture of me in my jersey, I'll go do a photo shoot. They're more concerned about other aspects of, like my character as a human and how I carry myself at a match and how I perform in a match versus just do I look like I'm wearing the proper uniform. Because I know a lot of guys that wear jerseys that are not so nice people, you know. And, it's probably not a good thing, but.
Well, it's funny. And this culture that we're currently in, and we should probably, get back to talking about like actual shooting, but this culture we're currently in, when you're wearing a jersey and someone has a problem with you, they're not going to say they have a problem with you. They're going to call mom and dad.
Oh yeah. Case culture. They're calling your sponsor.
Yeah. Which I swear to God, like is the most spineless thing you can possibly do. Just is call someone's sponsor. And now working in the industry, I feel like I have so much to deal with. If I ever get a call like that, it's over. I'm going to lose it on people.
Yeah. And I imagine there's a time and a place where it's appropriate to interact with somebody's sponsor. But, part of the shooting community and, as we talk about the different communities, I can tell you where we saw a difference between USPSA and 3-gun, right? Notable difference in how the crowd worked and, kind of the mindset. Come on out to tactical games. The crowd is even more diverse and way more relaxed with what they do, from how the event is run, the battle bosses, their mentality. Again, we get briefs and people are asking questions. They want to know what they're going through on a stage. And then it always comes to these what if scenarios. What if the target is turned when I go to shoot it? Or what if somebody's on an obstacle when I go to climb over it? And the mentality is exactly what it should be is, well, it pays to be a winner, so get there first or just stand there and wait. Just deal with the situation in front of you. Don't arbitrate it and, not everything that you're going to encounter in front of you, whether it's at this event or in life in general, is going to be fair. So that mentality, as shooters within the community, I don't understand the logic of seeing somebody do something and then going and making a post about it on Facebook later or calling a sponsor later. Like, it's my responsibility if I see a junior shooter doing something or an adult shooter or anybody doing something that we don't agree with in the sport to go and talk to them immediately. It's on me to help fix the problem. And I'm sure there are guys that are out there that just don't realize what they're doing because nobody's ever said anything to them. Right?
Yeah.
So, specifically with junior shooters, when we are, we have a junior shooter on the squad with us, we all want to make sure that we're behaving ourselves. We're not, we're trying to build good citizens around us in the community. But then when you see that junior shooter, go and arbitrate something with a match director or just whatever behavior they're doing, that's learned behavior. They got that from us. So if they're doing something wrong, why would I go tell on them? Like, I'm telling on myself is basically what's happening. Well, this competitor did this and I didn't agree with it. Well, then why didn't you fix it? Why didn't you show him the proper behaviors? It's not the sponsor's job to, yell at somebody after the fact. Now, aside from somebody doing something completely crazy, where they shouldn't be in the sport, which I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but, for the most part, it should be handled immediately. And either way, the mentality of the crowd at tactical games was 100% open and accepting. Everybody's there getting slayed together. Even if you're beating somebody on a stage, they're still cheering for you. It was a completely different level of sportsmanship and I really, really like it.
Yeah, it seems like real CrossFit-y, right? So at CrossFit, like the person who's last on the state or in the workout, everybody else is cheering for him, even the people that already stopped working out because they're done. You know, they come over and like, come on, pick up the bar. You can do it. And so that seems like that type of atmosphere.
Yes, that was at 100%.
Yep.
So for all those following along at home,
ingrain that mentality into.
Say that again.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to remark that if you hear any slamming noises over here, there's golf ball size hail coming down at the Three Guns Show studio. So hopefully my truck survives this one.
Well, how's that 85 degrees feel now, Dave?
Now I feel like a dick. But it's much less. At least it's not hot.
Might get knocked out by some hail.
And then goes through a blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I was wondering what my dog was barking at, and then I took off one of the sides of the headphones here and heard some knocking, and so opened up the window here. And yep, the Lord is pissed, and he's sending hailstones down at us. I don't know what we did, but I'm sorry. Anyway, James, back to what you were just about to say before I interrupted you was it'd be nice if we could have some of that culture come back to Three Gun.
Yeah, because, I mean, you know, the sport is going to continuously go through growing pains and cultural shifts. But trying to remind guys that when we're shooting at a match, like, you know, we talked about this coming from various matches where it's nice to shoot with guys that are high caliber shooters.
Yeah.
But sometimes you shoot with guys that just don't talk, or they're not fun to be around because they're so uptight about what they're doing that it makes the match really tense or boring. And, same thing if somebody is kind of being a jerk, like, you know, as a shooter who's been in the sport for a significant amount of time, I remember when I came in that I never felt like I was unwanted in the sport. I always had somebody that would be willing to offer up their services or just advice, use my equipment, ride with me, do something. And even though I'm an up and coming shooter, just getting my feet wet in the sport, people wanted me to get better. They wanted the sport to continue to grow. And I think a lot of the people that I worked with also realized that I was going to be beating them at a very short, at some point. And that didn't change their attitude. Nobody, like when you're competing in a match and you see a new shooter there that's struggling through a stage of fire, a lot of times people will go and offer up advice or equipment for that person. But then when you have a top level shooter that has a problem, nobody likes to see it, but very rarely will you have people that will go over to their direct competition and give them their gear, or it's just a little bit different the higher you go up the ladder. And what we're constantly trying to remind each other is that, one, we're here for fun, and two, there's a lot of stuff that goes within the sport that affects not just the shooting community as a hobby, but the shooting community, the whole 2A community. And if we do stuff where, if you have a new person come in and they show up with the wrong gear because they want to shoot with, I don't know, a 2-barreled AR, well, it obviously doesn't meet the sport. But we don't want to tell him that he's an idiot for buying a Taurus handgun. We want to tell him, hey, these are the reasons Taurus handguns are notoriously unsafe or have, the life of the equipment. And I don't care if I'm picking on Taurus, they know it. But like the equipment that you choose, like we're not picking on you because you're a poor in the shooting sport. It's just, hey, we know from experience that this equipment has these failings and these shortcomings, and we don't want to have a dangerous situation happen. We don't want to see anybody shooting themselves in the leg or launching rounds over a berm or doing something like that, because it might be, just one guy that DQs from the match. But in certain places, if you launch a round over the berm, it could shut down the facility.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you remember Texas Tune-Up having the guy protesting the event.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I do remember that.
The freaking bullhorn.
Yeah. Yeah. So
one man protest.
Something would have happened at that event where, one man protest. But if for whatever reason somebody had an unsafe firearm and shot themselves in a calf as they were drawing their pistol, and EMS had to come out to the range, not only is it a pain financially and it's a huge burden for the facility itself, but now it's more fuel for the media around to just say, look how dangerous this is, look how unsafe these people are. It's not good. So
yeah, 100%
change that.
Well, and to what we were talking about earlier, like I guess before we got on here, is I have a completely different view of I guess 3-gun and the shooting sports from now having been on both sides of it, right? So I guess multiple sides of it. So media as a competitor to myself, as a representative of companies, and then now working in the industry. So I understand like those I guess, for lack of a better term, those shit shows you see in the Facebook forums, mean something completely different now than they used to. Before it was like, I'm tired of arguments, and I'm just, this is supposed to be fun. Let's quit arguing. And now it's like, look at, I don't know. It's, what am I trying to say here, Jay? it's just we have to constantly be aware of who's watching and listening and seeing the type of stuff that we're saying and doing, because of all those reasons that James, you just said there's people watching that want to shut us down, but there's also people watching that want to play and they think they can't because like it's some kind of club that they'll never be able to be involved in. And that's what's cool. What I see is cool about the tactical games is they have like a robust community of wanting to see another person do well just for the sake of that person doing well and no ulterior motive.
Yep. And, I think specifically coming out of the, true sport, CrossFit, the endurance runners, the Tough Mudders, that kind of crowd where there's no shooting involved. It's just athletic ability. When you have a sport where you have one team versus the other team heads up and you're just trying to beat them on the event, aside from, the minor or the small amount of people that have physical confrontations and stuff where they're heated in the moment, like the sportsmanship where everybody understands what it takes to get to that point. Everybody's putting themselves, it's like college sports. Everybody's playing for a particular reason. So they have the true love of the sport. And when you have somebody else that comes into it, like how many times have you seen videos from like a high school football game where you have the water boy or, the team manager that might not be there physically or might have some sort of mental issues that's been supporting the team forever, and they let them suit out for a game, Rudy style. They let them play. At the end of the day, like everybody wants to play. Yeah. And, specifically within the tactical games, everybody that I talked to that was at the event, from whatever their background is, they're all saying the same thing. I'm having fun. I'm here to get better. I know what stuff I need to work on. And even as they're going through a battle, we all have the desire to win, but it's, we want to get better. So you'll have guys that come over midway through a battle and they're giving advice to somebody, and, they genuinely are excited to see you going through a stage. There's a bunch of guys that we competed against that are true physical specimens, like bodybuilders, CrossFitters, powerlifters. And, I'm watching them, and it's, you're complimenting them right there on the spot because, being, whatever shape you're in, whatever shape I'm in, I'm watching them do this and they're going through it significantly easier than I am. I'm not upset about that. I'm not envious of that. I'm genuinely excited for them. Like, man, you've put in a lot of work and maintained a certain level to get to this point. And you just don't see that appreciation in 3-gun. It seems like when you're on top, people want to belittle you or take credit away from what you've done for whatever reason.
That's a good point. And
find fault in what you're doing.
Shooting is one of those things also. I've been talking about this topic recently, and I think we might have talked about this with Amax on a previous episode, but it's one of those things where it looks easy, right? So no one will look at one of your stage videos and be like, damn, that's amazing. Like good for you, buddy. No one does that. They're just like, oh yeah, I could do that. Yeah. I shoot shit all the time. And, but with like lifting weights, that's one of those things where someone can look at that and go, there's no fucking way I could do that. But for some reason with shooting, everyone thinks they can do it. So you don't think like, dang, Daniel Horner won again. Like, gosh, that guy must be putting in the practice sessions. Like he must be really giving it heck. And he must be doing his cardio and his dry fire sessions. You're just like, well, that guy always wins. Well, that sucks. I wish I could shoot all the time. It's like a bitter twinge of jealousy in it instead of being happy for someone.
Yeah.
I used to be that way with this kind of stuff, competition things. Like had that thought as well, where it was like, man, it'd be nice to be able to just shoot all day and go win every match I went to. But with the few years of experience, like that's actually, completely gone away. And I'm truly happy for people when they perform well and place well. And, my thought was if I didn't like how much better somebody was doing than me, then I would, go practice and try to get better and beat them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I have to, reevaluate my expectations because I haven't been shooting nearly as much as I was when I was in Texas because I've joined the rest of the world and I'm working full time now. So I'm trying to. So I remember last year, Garrett Grover and I were trading paint at the Wyoming Governor's match, and I think he beat me by like 1 or 2 spots or something like that, but we were pretty darn close over the whole weekend, and we were on the same squad, and we had so much fun, talking and sharing stage plans and shooting together and stuff like that. So I was kind of thinking that, well, season's starting really late for me. I shot a team match, but then the Wyoming Governor's match is going to be basically my first match of the year, which is like the end of July. So that's like really late, right? So I was thinking like, well, gosh, I don't know, man. Garrett's been shooting this whole time. I've been seeing him at a bunch of matches. I don't think I'm going to be able to give him a run for his money this year. So now I just want to beat all my coworkers.
There you go.
I feel like that's a good goal. And of course I'll cheer him on, just good job, guys.
Yeah, you are doing so good, guys.
Yeah, well.
But, I mean, realistically, as much as you want to beat them, you also want to help them, as we talked about before, with obviously being that even though you're competing against them at the event, like, they're your teammates, they're representing the brand, they're doing other stuff, so, like, you don't want to see them fall on their face.
Yes.
But you just want them to shoot just a little slower than you.
Yeah. Maybe trip a little bit, but not fall on their face. But yeah, I mean, I say that, but at the same time, like I'm letting one guy scope and one guy an entire belt set up plus a pistol and, and shotgun carriers and stuff like that. So I guess I'm going through the motions of being a nice guy, but in reality, like I just kind of want to beat him.
Just lay it down and then go back to the office on Monday and be like, that's what happens when you talk shit to me during the week.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, it's the ego thing, right? And I work in an office full of dudes now. We've got one lady there. I feel sorry for her sometimes, but it's one of those things where it's like, I want to return triumphant, But okay, let's ask a question for the audience, and then you guys can go here. So if you're listening to this right now, go find the post on Instagram or Facebook, and let me know, like, what's does going through the motions of being a nice guy and like lending a bunch of equipment and stuff like that, does that make up for my desire to want to stomp everyone into the ground? What do you think, Jay?
Sounds like a fair trade-off.
What do you think, James?
I think no matter how much I'm helping somebody, I still want to beat them. I never want to lose.
There you go. All right, then.
But it's even better when you provide them all the tools of your demise and they still can't pull it off.
Well, that's pretty much like our relationship then, because you guys lend me stuff all the time and then stomp me into the ground. So, like,
that's a little different.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations on that third place victory there, James. Here's your brush back for my magazines. Appreciate that. Thanks for lending me those 4 magazines. And
well, so listen to this. So as we're going through, Jay and I were talking about each of the battles that we're doing. And, we knew ahead of time that anytime it comes to lifting weights, obviously if a guy has to pick up 100 pounds and he weighs 150 pounds, he's going to exert significantly more effort than a guy who weighs 200 pounds.
There's probably some math you can do on that.
Yeah, I'm not a scientist, but it sounds pretty reasonable to me. So as we're going through these events, like Jay is, he's your typical
Sasquatch.
He's a big, he's a big guy, and so like he even said, I'm not worried about picking up the weights or whatever the activities we do. And I said, yeah, but you're going to be doing it at heart rate, and you're going to be doing stuff which he acknowledged. And I think, to be honest, I was surprised as he was too, where we're going through a lot of the battles. And I think with the exception of one battle, he and I, we shot next to each other. So we're in the same relay. He's on the lane next to me. So every event that we did, I think we're basically right with each other, plus or minus a few meters, on just about every kind of rundown we did. Mm-hmm. And then it came down to, we'd get into position, shoot a string of fire, then have to turn around and run back. And I think Jay actually did outrun me on 5 of the 6 battles. One of them was closer on the score sheet than it was in reality. I think, because you got judges with stopwatches, but, he definitely muscled through and made it through a bunch of the events. Then we had one event that involved a couple 100-meter run down to a bay and then back. And Jay knows his weak point is doing those kind of sprint runs. If it's a short sprint, not a big deal, but half mile or more, like he's kind of losing some ground there. And that was the only event that I outpaced you on.
No, actually, I outran you on that, but I outran you on that one too. I was in front of you.
No, the steel bay where we run down.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Well, to set the stage there, so we had to start. Where the tower is up at Triple C, Dave, with the Connexes we shoot off of all the time, long range.
Yeah, I love that tower.
Yeah, so battle 3 and 6 was there right by that tower. So this one was battle 3, and we had to start there, run down the right of way that we usually shoot long range from the rock down to the bays, the attack bays there at Triple C.
Okay.
So like the backside of the bays. So we had to run all the way down from the Connexes down to the last bay, shoot a little USPSA stage of all steel, and then run back up the hill to the Connexes, and that was the stage. And It was about a total of, I think they said about, a 3/4 to 1.25 miles or something like that total. I can't remember exactly what it was, but so James beat me there on the run portion. Not only did he outrun me a little, but when I got down to the bay, I took my time catching a breather before I actually stepped in to shoot the bay stage itself, because you had a time clock. You had a par time once you stepped into the shooting area of that stage. So you could stop before it and take a breather as long as you wanted. And then once you stepped in, the clock started on just the shooting portion. So you had 50 seconds to shoot as much as you could before you run back up the hill.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a pro-am kind of thing.
Yeah. So you run down there to, take your time getting in. Once you step in, the clock starts. Once the time's up, you're done with the shooting, and then you got to get back up the hill. So yeah, I ran me on that one because, I stood there and caught a breather before I actually stepped in and started shooting.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that. Let's see, the week after the Wyoming Governors match, we've got the Big Bend Blast and Dash coming up, which is the 5K running gun that I helped do in Colorado. And the first time I ran it, I kept forgetting that if you step in the box, the clock starts.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like taking a breather and just kind of like, wandering the last few steps of trying to catch my breath. And then I realized like, crap, I'm in the box and I already heard the beep and now I got to load my guns and stuff like that. So it's that adds like a special little bit to it, but it's all part of that strategy of like, what's going to be more advantageous here? Just going straight to the box and shooting as much as I can, or calming myself and catching a couple deep breaths before you go in there.
Yeah.
Yep. So we kept talking about it as if it was 3-gun and saying, okay, a stage plan in 3-gun, you have a certain margin for error where if you run into position and you don't engage the exact order that you planned on doing it, you can go back and, you just have to engage the targets or you take a penalty. You can shoot them whatever order you want. In this sport, every battle, every step that you do is, sequenced out, and you have to follow that exactly. So
yeah,
keeping track of your mental game is a lot harder here because, by the time you actually go to shoot the third sequence of fire, which is different than the previous two, you're 7 minutes into a 10-minute battle. So it's a little harder to keep focus on that. And then if you get out of sequence, which happens, the penalties are significant where it's, I'll just make up a shot. Every round that you shoot is scored. You have a set number of rounds, set number of engagements. So the penalties there are pretty significant, where if you take a traditional 3-gunner and they crack a shot at a 15-yard steal, if they don't hit it, that's a 10-second miss.
Right.
And you don't get to re-engage it to make up that hit. It's a lost target, period. So going through, there's a lot that we're using from this sport that will benefit us from our in 3-gun. So, I talked to Becky Yackley after the event. She asked a couple of questions about it. And I said, hey, it actually caters to my style of shooting anyway, where I don't like to have a high volume of rounds engaged. I like to shoot as close to the required number of rounds on the stage as possible. Obviously there's going to be some misses in there, but, knowing how much you need to slow down to make the shot or how fast you can engage a target and, you're not giving up too much time is pretty important. And then being able to do it, and if you looked at each of the target arrays that we're shooting as just a standalone target array, there's nothing really that you would look at just on face value and say, oh, that's tough.
Right.
Well, then you do it when you're sucking wind and you have sweat dripping into your eyes and you can't hold yourself steady because you're breathing so hard. Now that 15-yard steal that you're shooting at, becomes a really difficult shot. So, being able to condition now, I like going from this event, like, I'm actually going out tomorrow for a pistol practice session, and I'm trying to determine right now if I'm going to go and shoot a bunch of steel like I'm shooting USPSA, or if I'm, what kind of stage I'm going to set up, because in all honesty, like, I know when I go to the flat bay and I'm controlled and I've got my breath and I'm ready to shoot, the series of targets in front of me are just going to look like the easiest thing in the world to shoot. So I'm trying to figure out how I can pull from this and keep up the speed for my next event or whatever. But, it was a lot of fun where we go through and I think as Jay and I were running the events, constantly looking over and seeing what he's doing. I don't know if he was looking at what I was doing. I talked to him a few times where I asked if he heard stuff while he was on the clock. He wasn't really paying attention to it, but seeing that and being aware, knowing most times that I left a position and I looked up and Jay's already 15 feet down the course in front of me, there was never a thought in my head like, Jay's beat me, I got to pick up the pace or something. It was more excitement like, okay, one, we were on pace. We're both doing the same thing. I'm not completely. It was easier to pace through the event that way. But then seeing that I'm chasing Jay the whole time, I was actually like, okay, Jay's not dying.
Yeah.
He's not the one dying this weekend.
I'm just going to observe from back here.
Yeah. Yeah. And to speak to that, like, we were, like you said, we were pretty much pacing physically and on the runs and stuff. Our times were pretty similar, except the one stage where he ran away from me. But he 100% beat me in the shooting. One of the stages had talking about the specific order of engaging targets they tell you. And if you go out of order, you lose points. You get penalized for that. The first stage, in fact, that we shot, we had to, engage an array through a barricade, and you had to go through the ports and around the outside of the barricade in specific order with a specific gun on specific targets. I was doing fine until the last iteration. After we tried to do the rope climb, I couldn't get up, so I had to do some burpees. And then when I went back down to engage the last array with the iron sights, my brain was in La La Land, and I totally tried to do something that was not supposed to be done. It ended up costing me basically almost 400 points in penalties.
Holy shit! Yeah, that is stiff.
Now, yeah, and so it's that many shots plus penalties for getting out of order and not following directions, basically. So yeah, I totally smoked myself on that stage. But everything else other than that, I mean, I don't think there was a stage where James had more penalty points than I did. I think I had more penalties on every stage than he did.
First place penalties.
What's that?
First place in penalties.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, well, I was not even close. Like
if you look at the stats,
not even close to the penalties that all these other people had. I mean, I still finished ninth. I think I was ninth.
No shit, that's great, man.
In our division, yeah. And James was third. He podiumed, got his trophy.
Good job, James.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, blue hair with his American flag tank top.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a tough event, and there's a couple of guys that I've competed with at other events this year, and so I had a little rapport with these guys, and we're friendly. We're all talking, and constantly reminding these guys, like, you guys are killing it physically. You're not timing out. You're making your way through the stage just fine. You got to get your hits. Trying to stress to them, like, you can outrun me on a stage by a minute, but if you have 6 misses more than I do, or if I have 6 misses less than you, I've now tied you on the stage. Yep. And some of these strings of fire were 120 rounds total. So that's potential for 1,200 seconds in penalties.
Yeah, dang.
So if you do the math, like a 10-minute stage is 600 seconds. You can add double your time on the stage in just penalties alone if you're rushing your shots and whatnot. So the gear for this event, I'm still kind of fine tuning. I'm definitely building specific guns for the event, but Jay and I both showed up. I had used a red dot at my previous event, and I realized that I could compete with the red dot. It has its benefits, but I'm so used to shooting my variable power 1-6 that's what I went with. Now Jay showed up with a red dot on, or a prismatic, whatever it is, and I said, I think you probably want to put your Vortex 1-6 on there, and his razor.
Vortex Optics razor.
And he's like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And so because you have to check in your gear, and whatever you have at the time of check-in, you have to stay with the whole weekend, and they do spot check you. And so
can I interrupt real quick?
Check in our gear, and I
yes,
yep.
So the variable power optic, that was not cool last year. Did they have a rule change on that?
Yes, so they've made some adjustments, and I do like how they clarify certain things. Like previously, for example, muzzle devices were an area of contention, and they've since clarified. So basically, if you're running a muzzle device, it has to be an A2 muzzle device. If you run some sort of muzzle brake for a suppressor that is not an A2 muzzle device, you have to run the suppressor on it.
Okay.
So the reason they did that is because they had muzzle brakes on the list that were approved, like a Surefire muzzle brake, which is more of a compensator. So it does add a benefit in that mindset. So they just said, okay, full weight carriers, we're looking for duty style guns and battle gear anyway. So full weight carriers, A2 muzzle brakes, you can run pistol, rifle setup, it doesn't matter. But if you run a red dot or a basically a 1X prismatic, anything like that, you have to run backup iron sights, which in that case are inline. If you run a variable power optic, which you're allowed to, you have to run offset irons. You can run a 1X dot with a 3X magnifier. It has to stay on the gun the whole time. So they have provisions where, it makes sense for what gear is being fielded by different departments and military units. It fits the battle gear. But being that it is kind of unfair to run a 1 or a 6X magnification when a guy next to me shooting iron sights, or not iron sights, but a red dot, when it comes time to shooting iron sights, I have to put my offset iron sights on, which makes sense because I can't flip them up and look through my optic. Right. That wouldn't be fair. So going through a barricade and stuff, offset irons are kind of a pain. But, however people set up the gear, that you can adjust it. And I just told Jay ahead of time, I know we can shoot with a red dot. I don't know how much time he's had on the red dot, but, where I was formally trained on iron sights, spent a lot of time shooting iron sights. I've spent a lot of time shooting prismatics and 1Xs in competition through the years. I know that it takes more effort on my part to be precise with those. And being at the last battle that we shot at, or the last Tactical Games event that I competed in, I shot the 1X, which was fine, except for one target where we had to shoot, only A-zone hits counted from a rooftop at 100 yards. Not that terrible, and I was in a really good position. And I shot a really nice group on target. It just happened to be right in the edge of the C zone and not in the A zone. So I missed like 28 rounds of 30 fired because only the A zones count. And just to eliminate that, I went back to my 1-6, which, the Leupold Mark 6 has an illumination feature with, if you're not in the eye box, it doesn't illuminate. Well, I use that as a fail-safe to make sure I'm actually in the same reference point. I don't have that when I'm shooting a 1X optic. I have to just rely on my cheek placement or my nostril on a charging handle type thing. And when you're shooting a barricade and you're already out of breath and stuff, it's harder to focus on. And, just reminded Jay that, like, these targets don't appear that difficult, but you don't want to make your job any harder than it has to be. And so I was a little nervous because he swapped to his 1-6 the day before as we're checking in, went and sighted in. I wanted to make sure he felt comfortable with it. Like he was having trouble getting sighted in. He was just off the edge of a plate and we couldn't see it. And then once he got adjusted, I was like, okay, we can go back and shoot paper if you want. No, he's happy with it. And do you think that 1-6 made a difference for you there, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, obviously magnification is better than none, right? For this match in particular, all the rifle steel that we shot was basically everything that was past 75 yards and out was a full IPSC, it was basically a full IPSC target. So I think we had some C zones at 175. Yeah. So I don't think that running the Spitfire would have hurt me at all at this match. But And some of the other ones, like y'all are telling me that some of those had paper targets or A-zone only hit targets or had like skinny Sammys at 80 yards. So then definitely the variable power optic is going to be the way to go on those type of situations. I think this match, like you said, it just worked out with the target presentations that I think it would have been fine with the Spitfire. I don't really think it would have handicapped me too much, if at all. But, never hurts turning that magnification up a little bit for a couple 100-yard target either.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. We've had this discussion, Dave, about gear over the years where guys are running these super lightweight guns, and I've laughed every time they do it because, if you tell me that you're building a gun that you just want to be a, absolute machine gun at 25-yard paper for base stage, okay, no problem. But when people say that they're trying to drop weight on their gun, I'm like, are you really struggling to carry your rifle through a 75-yard course for a 3-gun stage that might last 3 minutes?
Yeah, let's talk about weight when you're talking about a 10-minute battles at tactical games with another 100 pounds on your back.
Yeah, so
there's a time where it adds up, but it doesn't in 3-gun.
Yeah.
Well, so along those lines, I've kind of, I don't know, I've kind of come, I don't know, I've gone both ways on the 3-gun rifle thing. Like I shot that Armalite Shorty for a while, and I have like an 18-inch barrel, like that's super heavy, not anywhere near as heavy as your Barnes rifle, but it's a heavy one. And then I've shot let's see, like a 16-inch. Went back to the 18, and then now I think I'm going to be shooting a 14.5 or an 18-inch. I'm going to kind of be switching between the two of them, but like even that 14.5 or that 16 that I was shooting, like I never really try to trim like every single ounce off of it or get like hollowed out receivers or magnesium this or that or the other thing. There's just like a feel that feels good kind of weight, and it's like 6.5 to 7 pounds or something like that, and then throw a scope on top, and it feels okay.
I mean, I've had times where I'm at an event, and that time of day hits you where your legs feel like bags of cement, and it's
I get that a lot.
You're tired from the day. And putting my rifle on my back, I've been running a biathlon sling, which is pretty nice, but putting it on, you're just not as fresh as you could be. And you're like, man, I can feel the weight of my rifle. But then when the timer goes off and I run, it doesn't slow me down. It's not like I got to the end of the stage and I'm crawling and I'm like, I wish I didn't have to drag this 7.5 pound rifle with me. I'm not stressing about that.
I wish I would have got that carbon fiber handguard. If I just had the carbon fiber handguard.
Yeah. And so I've looked at doing some lightweight guns, doing fluted barrels. Matter of fact, I got a barrel on order with Jay right now for a proof barrel for a tactical games rifle.
Oh,
look at a couple different setups, and I mean, what it comes down at the end of the day, for me, the equipment has to function, and I'm okay if the gun is a little heavier or if the gun is lighter than I want it to be. Like, I'm not too concerned about the weight one way or the other. I'm more concerned with the function of the gun. And now, after having dealt with the same sets of rifles for years and years and years, every time I look at changing something in my rifle, it's like, I want to paint my guns. Like, that's all I'm thinking about now. I'm not worried about adjusting buffer weights. Like, I have a setup that works. So now I'm just painting guns. As a matter of fact, I sent a bunch of my receiver sets and all my parts and everything to Mike and Lane over at Dissident.
Oh, cool.
And they're painting it up to match my Vepr shotgun.
No red, white, and blue? Come on, man.
Right? Red and gold, Marine Corps colors.
Yeah, but you got the blue hair.
Or, for the kids, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the blue hair, it's just, it goes with the times. It's my urban camouflage, so I don't get jumped in any protest.
There you go.
Spent a lot of time in Austin lately, huh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I actually have a flat, dark, and kind of earthy rifle right now, but it's it's stone cold reliable too. And it's nothing fancy, and to look at it from the outside, it doesn't have, like I said, it doesn't have any holes in it or anything, so you wouldn't think like, oh, this is something special. But damn, does it shoot!
Super racy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking to that, I gotta jump in there. So
I mean, we noted it. You're at. Go ahead.
Continue, James.
All right, I'll go. So we did notice at the games that, in one battle brief specifically, a question came up as far as malfunctions. And it was more about muzzle control when you're clearing a malfunction. Are we allowed to mortar or rifle on the round if we need to clear a stoppage or something? And the battle boss said, of course, you have to clear your malfunctions if you can. If you have some catastrophic failure and you can't clear it, no problem. We'll just leave it there on the ground as you're continuing, but you just don't get to shoot your rifle stuff. Don't flag anybody. And there's a bunch of us that kind of looked around and asked each other, like, who's worried about clearing a malfunction? Like, and more the mentality of, I didn't expect that somebody would come help me clear a malfunction. The battle boss told everybody directly, like, it's on you. And we're all kind of like, yeah. But as we're going through the event, a lot of the guys' equipment, or, the competitors' equipment that was out there, I didn't really get to look too closely at everybody's guns to see exactly what they had. But they all fit the profile of a traditional duty rifle. We had the guys from F1 were out there with their skeletonized guns. Grady, we'd shoot with him a little bit. He had it. He's shooting his F1 rifle. And it's funny to see what firearms were having failures. And they weren't the skeletonized guns or the gamer style guns. It was, it was typically a duty rifle, and probably because it had a poor maintenance schedule on anyway. Not to blame the competitor or anything, but it just goes to show that Jay didn't have any malfunctions. I didn't have any malfunctions with rifles. I had a loose extractor on my pistol, which
that was a malfunction.
It happens.
Yeah.
Whatever. I made it. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking to that, so I did the build for this rifle for this tactical games match right before this, right? So probably, I don't know, what was it, a month ago maybe? Took my brand new Stag Arms Bones 15 rifle.
There you go.
And slapped a little furniture on it, bolted on an optic, and took it out to the range, zeroed it, and stuck it in the case, and didn't do anything else with it until the match. To include, admittedly, not cleaning it from the factory at all, not actually lubing it before the match.
What, dude? You did a video about lubing your rifle.
up to the match. I lubed it the day before. Properly lubricated all the proper lubrication points. But typically with a new rifle, I do a full tear down, degrease, re-oil, adjust, test, tune, all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, I pretty much took this one out the box straight to the match. And
just like Pat Kelly.
Yeah. And exactly. This is a Pat Kelly out of the box to the match review. Took it straight out there, ran it the whole time, lubed it each day, just in a couple of lube points on the bolt carrier group. And the thing ran the entire time, and I was not nice to that rifle either. It was laying in the dirt, getting dragged through the dirt, muzzle impaled in the dirt a few times when we had to sit down or something to shoot a little bit. And that thing just trucked right along. no malfunctions, ran perfect, shot great.
If you've got a 3-gun rifle and you want to test it to see if it'll survive a 3-gun match,
take it to tactical games.
Or just recreate a battle at your home range and just go, because as soon as you go to bolt lock, you drop a mag, your safety goes on. You have 2 judges with each competitor. One is count hits, the other is just there for your safety and making sure you're clearing all the obstacles and everything. So they're right with you the whole time. So as soon as you clear out, and then you're going to transition to pistol, you're not dumping your rifle in a safe bucket or anything like that. You're chucking it over your shoulder on a sling. And I even told my judges a couple times, I said, as soon as you see me fire that last round, don't be standing over my shoulder because you're going to get hit in the face of the rifle. Like it's I'm launching.
Yeah.
And so it's being against my plate carrier. And they're like, when we failed the rope climb, you got to do burpees. You take your rifle off. You just chuck in the dirt. As we're climbing under this tunnel, I'm holding the rifle and using it as I'm bear crawling through the tunnel.
Dragging it through the dirt.
Your just gets absolutely trashed. You get a little dusty, but that's what the equipment needs to be. So it's funny when you see guys at a 3-gun match and they take their rifle out of a nice padded table, they pick it up and they shoot, and then they drop it into a nice clean trash can and they gently put it in there. And, there's a bunch of us on the squad that are like yelling, just like, chuck it, like, get rid of the gun, get out of here. I don't want to lose my 0. Like, trust me, your dainty little weapons handling is not hurting that rifle.
Yeah.
And if it is, like, choose a different brand. But I do have to say, Dave, I did kind of eyeball Jay's rifle there a few times and checking it out. I do like that handguard. It's pretty slick.
That handguard is like super nice, isn't it? I really like the one with the QDs and the extra vent holes. It's perfect for throwing a sling on and off.
There is one little issue with it though. When you drag the Picatinny across the side or back of your head, it kind of hurts.
There's some stabby things on there, yeah, for sure.
A little sawtooth action.
Yeah, it's like a saw blade. Yeah,
so you got to be a little mindful when you're chunking that thing over your shoulder, making sure your head's out of the friggin' way first.
For sure. Well, and so Jay, you're shooting the Bones Tactical, so that's the Stag Arms Tactical model is basically what you're doing with just a little bit different furniture. And I believe you have the nitride one. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
I like the nitride myself. It's the QPQ method, and it's easier to clean. It's more accurate, and you're not doing machine gun fires where you need like a chrome and phosphate. So I just kind of like the modern coatings better myself. But that's one thing that when I applied for the job at Stag, I was really pumped that we had all those great modern products, and it wasn't like the old Diamond Head handguard. Diamond Head makes a good handguard still, but it wasn't like the old school stuff. It was definitely modern materials, modern machining, modern style, and I like it a lot. It's easy to talk. It's easy to say nice things about the products when they're that good. You don't have to make anything up.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's the second one I have. So one of them is built out for 3-gun. One of them, I just built it out for the tactical games match. Both of them have been 100% reliable. I mean, they're accurate. They run well. I mean, they handle great. I mean, the quality's there. And they come in at a good value too. So, I mean, they're hard to beat.
Yeah. And with the, it's funny because we're recording this in the middle of, the COVID pandemic plus the resulting riots and stuff. There's like a massive vacuum of firearms in the supply chain right now. So we've been selling the heck out of the Bones rifles because there's a lot of companies that haven't been able to produce stocks or anything. So, so I don't know how people are shooting them, but,
I mean, technically it's a functional rifle right out the box, right? You don't need to do anything to it to shoot it.
Just don't touch the gas tube. You'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
one-handed.
So there are a few things that we learned about this tactical games as far as the setup of your gear, where 3-gun people come out and they want to show up with a $2,500 rifle to start. And, there's certain accoutrements that go on an AR that just aren't necessary for this. I originally looked at putting like barricade stops.
Yeah.
And I realized all that barricade stop is going to do is going to jab me in the back as I'm running. Or, I was going to run a super short handguard, and I'm like, well, now my barrel's exposed. Now it's burning my calf muscles. I'm shooting pistol. It's like making minor adjustments, like a QD sling point, which I have one at the front end of my handguard. I actually have two, but, for certain stages, we looked at like slinging up in a different position just so we can get in and out of a barricade a little bit easier. And you'd be surprised, like you probably have 5 guns in your safe right now that are more than adequate for tactical games. Like if you have an old AR with iron sights, an A-frame on there, and it doesn't fit for what you've been doing for 3-gun, even if it is not a free-floating barrel, like the old A-frames are, then it still works because you're shooting minute-a-man target out to 250 is, I think, the furthest we've shot.
Yeah.
I think what hurt people more than anything was, Cresson, we typically get that afternoon wind blowing across our face there on a rifle stage, pretty steady, about 8 miles an hour, but then it gusts. So some of the guys shooting 55 grains, if they weren't paying attention exactly where they were at, kind of got pushed off target. Not really a whole lot. It had more to do with just making sure you're in an adequate position. So like if you're struggling with anything for 3-gun and you're just like, why can't I be this rifle ninja that I always want to be? It's because the whatever positional training you're doing, where you get into position, you feel like you could muscle through, and you're like, this is a okay position, and you start cranking shots, and they're 4 shots. You're going to learn real quick in tactical games that you have to have the best position possible because you're already sucking wind, and you don't get spare shots. So
that's a good point.
So you can take, what some cases people consider to be subpar gear for other sports works just fine for this. You don't need an 18-inch barrel. I'm actually looking at going to a 14.5-inch or a 12-inch barrel, just so that I don't have a super unwieldy rifle when I'm crawling through tunnels or under obstacles. I'm not worried about the weight, but if I don't need the weight, I'll drop as much as I can. Mm-hmm. And I get people probably aren't going to be going out and ordering a whole bunch of new gun parts at this point in time just because they're not going to find it. But, like I said, look through your safe. You probably have stuff that fits it anyway.
Yeah, Jay and I were talking about that beforehand, and we were going back and forth on whether like a pistol would be good, like a 10.5-inch pistol or something like that, versus the 16-inch. And then, with as large of a man that Jay is, like a 16-inch rifle is really a pistol to him. So, and it's funny you mentioned that because, 9th place, and it's like an $800 rifle MSRP. Like that's like a ridiculous value. Not to turn this into a stag commercial or something like that, but we always feel like, oh yeah, if you got to have like a $2,500 proof barrel, DH11 trigger or whatever they're calling them now, and all the other good stuff for 3-gun. But then red dot and iron sights are the meal of the day. So we were talking about that with like the M4 rifles. So we sell like an M4 clone kind of thing that has like a carry handle and everything, and it looks cool as shit. But since all I do is shoot competition, it's like, when would I ever use that?
That would absolutely be suitable for tactical games as long as you can shoot irons for that one, because being the dedicated carry handle iron sight system.
And you're not required to run a dot, so you can absolutely just shoot irons.
Yeah, and there's no reason a standard mil-spec outfitted equipment rifle can suit anybody just fine for tactical games. There's no need for any kind of speed shooting. You don't need a race gun. All you need to be able to do is put a round on targets at a steady cadence, which is absolutely doable with a basic mil-spec outfitted rifle.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Some of the target sequences that we're shooting, that where we're actually shooting a string of rounds instead of just one round through a barricade or port, rechange positions for another round, where you're actually having sequential fire. We shot prone for a couple strings of fire, and Jay and I both said the same thing. Like A2 bird cage was adequate. Would I've liked to have had a muzzle brake? I want to notice a difference there. The targets that we were shooting, I was pulling the trigger as fast as I was comfortable with, and there was people around me that were like, God damn, you're shooting fast, but it's a BC 5 yards, and I'm prone, so I was again in the proper position. I was using more technique than equipment, but the setup I run is Andrew sent me over this demo rifle here last year for a rifle that we built out for the Border Patrol, 16-inch chrome moly rifle, full weight carrier with an A2 muzzle brake on it. Like it's about as duty rifle as you get. It's a little heavier than a lot of the guns in the market, but I can, if I can make my way through an event with it, I podiumed with it.
There you go.
Didn't struggle to shoot anything. It didn't malfunction. So, yeah. So bring your gear. And Jay, Dave, excuse me. I know we had talked previously about the three of us were trying to go. I know, obviously, you abandoned us and whatnot, but there's a few more events. Put your plate carrier on and come play.
Yeah, I have to get a plate carrier. Do you think you can still get plate carriers now, or?
Oh yeah, I just got one. I got mine Monday. Tuesday. I got mine Tuesday before the match.
See, that's perfect, Jay, because Jared Halbert says don't train with your weight vest on, so you weren't even able to.
Well, I borrowed James loaned me an extra to train with a little bit, so I could set up gear and things for plate carrier, But,
yeah, I've never worn one of those, for any length of time, so I wouldn't even know where to start to place gear or anything like that. So, I guess since we're on the subject of gear, let's talk about that. So, do you have actual plates in there, Jay, or did you end up getting some training plates or what?
So,
can I shoot you? That's what I want to know. Can I shoot you right now?
The way it was set up for the match, you could shoot me in my chest, but don't shoot me in the back.
Copy that.
So I just ordered. I happened to come across a great deal on a kit from AR500.com, AR500armor.com, and so it was a plate carrier with armored plates and some trauma pads, and it was like $250 or something. It was a great deal. And then I also ordered the extra set of training plates. So it's the same size and shape plates, and they're just skeletonized to cut down weight, and they're not made of actual armor, just mild steel. So
plus they have holes.
And they have holes, yes. So
that'd be funny. The skeletonized ones are AR500. They'll stop a bullet, but not all the time.
Not always, just 13% of the time. So
I'm a little too amused with myself on that one.
No, that was a good one. That was good. So the weight restriction on the plate carrier, it's got to weigh 15 pounds for the men's division.
Okay.
And that is with the carrier plates and any mag pouches you have on it, but no mags or anything like that on it. So for mine, the way it worked out, I was able to run one solid armor plate and one skeleton plate, and I got my carrier in it right at 16 pounds. So I ran that,
our buddy Mark Roth was actually running his plate carrier with MGM targets stuffed in the pouches. Yeah. He had knockover targets stuffed in the pouches.
Yeah,
it just has to be ballast, right?
Yep, exactly. It just has to make the weight. It doesn't matter what you put in it to make it weigh that much. So I put the heavier plate in the front so that when it was pulling on me, it would pull the front down and not pull the back down to where it's choking me.
That's not bad. And then you just lean into it as you're running, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so I've got 3 different sets of plates. I have rifle rated coated plates that are pretty thin. I have a set of ceramic plates, and then I have a set of Team Windy training plates, which are the same size as my ESAPIs, but you can swim with them. You're not worried about damaging your $1,000 ceramic plates.
Yeah,
and you don't need armor rated plates, but if you have them, go for it. So I choose to use my rifle rated plates for the event. In the event that one of the competitors gets a little squirrely, has an Indy or it's nice to know that I have the armor, but they bounce very well. They're very slim plates, so I have a very small profile. I run a JPC the Cryo Precision plate carrier, which is really slick. And running, thankfully I have a spare Safariland belt, so I run my ELS system, but I've adjusted it and taken off all the extra attachment points that I know I'm not going to use. I've got a little foldable dump pouch on there. My mentality has always been, I want to be as slick as possible. If they made yoga pants for guys, with belt loops in a cargo pocket or a back pocket, like I would absolutely wear that to any event, because I don't want baggy pants that are like grabbing the brush. I just want to be as slick as possible.
What if they made like a tactical yoga onesie?
Oh, I'd roll that.
I don't know about a onesie, because then you couldn't swap shirts. It's kind of weird. But if they made silkies with belt loops, I'm all over it.
Now we're talking.
I was legitimately going to wear silkies for the event, and then I realized that I had to wear my belt, and that doesn't work. So I might take a set of my silkies to a seamstress and put loops on there. But
that'd be hilarious.
The gear's pretty simple. Like, you just need the option to hold 5 rifle mags and 5 pistol mags. You'll never use more than that. It's standard as far as what you're going to do. You can use any length mag that you want. Doesn't matter. So Jay was talking about bringing 40s, and I told him, hey, you don't need it. We're only shooting 30 rounds in a mag. And he was wanting to use it for the height. And I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. But I just went with 30s because it's simple. Less stuff for me to bring. And my plate carrier only holds 3 rifle mags, and then everything else goes on my belt. And so, like, if I have to start a stage with 5 rifle mags, I just stuff the other 2 in my back pocket, because it doesn't hurt me anything to pull a mag out as I finish an obstacle and load it. I mean, you have a significant amount of time. You'll see that the transition drills that we do for this event are significantly different than what we do for 3-gun.
Right.
Because you have to be able to load a firearm and then clear it out on the line, retain your mags immediately, and then move off. So you're not just dumping stuff on the ground. And we're doing enough physical activity where there have been times where guys go down to a position and they get there and they don't have any mags, and they're like, uh-oh, and they have to go back and get them. And if you leave gear on the course, you're penalized for it.
Oh, no kidding.
Penalty,
so you need a dump pouch then.
Penalty, or just your or your stuff in mags.
You're throwing them back in your pouches. Yeah. Because we both had a instant portable dump pouch on our belts just in case. But even then, I never used it because even if I would have it in the middle of a stage, I'm still going to be running around and jumping up and down off the ground. And my worry was that if I did use it, that I was going to end up dumping all of it out at some point and having to go scoop it all back up.
Nice. So anything you wished you had out there that you did not bring with you?
A masseuse?
Well, no, they had that out there too. You just didn't see it.
No. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm going to be making. I was talking to James about it on the way home. I'll be making adjustments to my gear as far as like some of the features on the plate carrier with some different different strap system and maybe some different pouches and things, maybe even adjust my belt gear slightly, just to put things in that are a little more comfortable and don't rattle around or shake around or bounce too much. Because I spent a pretty good amount of time on the clock when we were running and things, grabbing a hold of stuff and trying to make sure stuff didn't fall out or bounce out. Hell, my belt came loose twice on me. And that was due to where we had to like sit down on a stage. And so I'd sit down and my holster would torque on my belt a little bit. And with the Safariland ELS, it popped those little pins out of the belt hole. And then next thing I know, I'm up pulling a wheelbarrow with 100 pounds on it. And my rifle's bouncing around, banging off the pipe. And then my belt started trying to fall off. So now I'm a while into the line, like my pants have fallen down and I'm trying to pick all my crap up, So
that's quite the picture.
Adjustments are to be made. Yeah, and I didn't have anybody video it anything, so I don't have any evidence of any of that either.
When we did the blast and dash 2 years ago, I didn't really practice at all, and I didn't have time to put my. I think I was running the Razor 1-6 at the time. I didn't have time to put that on the rifle that I wanted to shoot, so I ended up shooting with my Gill in that, which the 13 pounds of Gill on your back is not the proper solution. But
no.
I felt like I could not get comfortable on that run, and I was constantly messing with that thing and trying to get it in a position where the charging handle wasn't stabbing me in the back and the throw lever on the scope wasn't stabbing me in the back, and I wasn't pinching myself with between the belt. And I ended up thinking like, God, I should have just like put some duct tape on this and carried it like a briefcase through this whole match. But completely different situation. But the comfort when you're moving around, you don't realize like how much shit bounces when you run.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, guys, we've been going for like 90 minutes here, so I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your evenings and back to whatever you're doing. But let's do a final thought. We'll start with you, Jay. Any final thought or piece of advice you want to give someone who's thinking about shooting the tactical games or anything at all, man? It's been a long time since we talked. Open floor.
Yeah,
say something.
As far as going to a match in general, just take what you got and go. Right. For tactical games specifically, I wanted to do it just to try it out. I did a little bit of preparation as far as working out and doing some things, some of the activities that I knew we'd be doing. But, just go out there and take your gear and go shoot it and have fun, man. It was a hell of a good group of people. It was a good time. It's all well organized and well run. And it was just very enjoyable. It wears you out for sure, but it's kind of like, when you work out and you get done and you feel really good afterwards. That's how I felt all weekend. So I highly recommend.
So you're going to do it again?
I will do it again.
Good for you, man.
Absolutely. For sure.
All right. Well, and how about you, James? Any final thought, anything you want to share with the audience about the match?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, like I said, this has been my most rewarding podium. I've won quite a few matches and placed very highly at a bunch of others, but this event was the most rewarding for myself because of the amount of effort that I put into it. And it felt good to be at a match where everybody was enjoying the same punishment that I was. It's a great crowd to be involved in. Can't say enough about the sportsmanship and the camaraderie at this event. But the challenge, we've talked about this, Dave, for other things. Everybody says they're looking for a challenge and they, shoot trophy only matches. Well, I promise you're going to go to this match. You only get if you get a trophy, it's because you worked your ass off. And other than that, you're just going to go, and the reward you're going to get is 10 times better than anything you could ever get in any of the matches I've shot before. So come on out, play the game, make yourself a better person.
Ooh, that's a good point right there. Just prepping for a match like this is going to make you a better person, right?
No doubt.
Yep.
Stronger human, harder to kill.
Yep.
Well, guys, thanks for being on the show again. I love doing this. I miss you dudes. I miss shooting with you guys all the time. It's been a really weird year, and hopefully we can fix it next year and actually get to shoot some matches together.
For sure.
No worries, Dave. We'll see you on the range.
I know we'll see you in October.
Make sure your truck survives.
Yeah. Oh yeah, October. Texas Ring Championship 308G, TX 308G.
TX308G.
I talked to my boss this week. I told him, hey, we're shooting 308 at Texas Three-Gun Championship. And after he gave me the weird look and I explained it, he's like, that sounds like fun. Yes, Chad, it does. And we're going to have a great time. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you on the range.